Chairman Powell, I am making this open letter to help direct you to finally do what is direly needed to curb and reverse the widening wealth divide, and particularly to cease the destruction of financially responsible persons who save and whom are compelled to short sell the bloated stock market. I saw you on TV today as I was at my parents' home. I am unable to afford cable TV where I live. I am unable to afford driving as well, thanks to both my bank interest being hijacked and of the egregious upward manipulation of the stock market. It's sad that members of the U.S. Senate have to say their long BS remarks before asking you their simple questions which any person would know the answer to without having to hear you answer. I suppose it's just part of your position and you understand the monkey procession. You seemingly act as if you are concerned, but your actions speak on the contrary. I disliked your lie in saying the economy pre-COVID was in great shape. The economy is in great shape based on the massive number of homeless. The economy is in great shape by evidence of the 6 and 7% CD rates. The economy is in great shape because with your help, raising asset prices has made it so 100 million plus people are having a hard time making ends meet and having to resort to credit cards, unable to save. You mention the plight of those at the lower end lacking savings. Well, don't think too hard why this is so. It's obviously not because the economy is so strong. Now, if I were to pose my inquiry, I would ask you, 1. Are you aware savers are getting crushed financially from the regressive policy of 0 to near zero bank interest? I would keep pressing until you admit to the harm. I'd also bring up the fact that many of the biggest savers are the elderly, and so they are the ones as a group harmed disproportionately. And then I'd pose the question, why can't bank interest rates go up, and address why when the stock market falls you choose to do whatever supports the wealthy at the detriment of everyone else. 2. Are you aware of the increased number of homeless in recent years? If not, I'd bring up data and of personal experiences of seeing about 4 times as many camping out at my local Walmart store's parking lot. I have never seen so many converted school buses for people to live in, as rents are oppressively too high as a result of the Fed's regressive policies of hurting the economy and society by making housing so expensive. 3. Are you aware that when home prices go up that it becomes more expensive to buy? I'd quickly dispel the idiocy of any response incorporating how lower interest rates makes it more affordable. This would be of no consequence to the financially responsible who'd buy outright or nearly so. I'd also bring up with the overpaid government employees that home taxes have no bearing with the low interest rates. 4. Are you aware that upon using non-contrived inflation rates that the real GDP growth per capita has actually been negative for the past 15 years? I'd anticipate your disagreement, but I'd argue nonetheless in bringing up data supporting the primary contention, and would also cite data showing how the middle class has been steadily going down. 5. Are you aware that the wealthiest have been the great benefactors of your regressive, humanity-hating, wealth-dividing policies? You should agree if you are honest, but if not, I'd present supporting evidence. 6. Are you aware there is short selling in the stock market? You should obviously respond, yes. I then ask why you think this sort of investing is allowed. Depending on how you'd respond, I'd push you to recognize it is available to offer investors a means to be on the opposite side of the trade of longs going insane in bidding up stocks beyond any reasonable notion of fair value, and a side effect is to bring valuations back to reality. I'd ask when the Fed got in the business of picking winners and losers, and particularly doing whatever benefits the wealthy. 7. I would cite the site classactionfed.blogspot.com and mention particular dates such as December 26, 2018, and ask what the Fed's participation was in the upward manipulation of the stock market. I'd quickly have other dates as well. I'd also mention the upward manipulation since March of this year all the way to the most recent trading day of Friday, December 4th. I would ask how you can reconcile the stock market being about 10 to 20% higher than how the market was bloated pre-COVID, and while the economy is now more clearly to all that it's in the toilet. on the short selling aspect that responsible investors are compelled to do, as valuations make no good sense to be going long in the stock market, and while bank interest has been hijacked, I'd ask pointedly that if the Fed would purposely manipulate up prices far away from fair value, why is it no such announcement was made to this effect so all short sellers would get out of their positions? What I heard was one lie after another of the Fed heads back in 2010 and forward saying the QE was going to end, but it never ended. I kept hearing lies about the interest rates would quickly go up at the conclusion of the QE. Well, there was a period where QE sort of ended, but there was great reluctance on behalf of Yellen to start raising interest rates. I understand you were involved in raising interest rates, but I'd also ask why you so quickly reversed course. I'd point out the stock market and pushing this as being your primary concern, saving the wealthy yet again and throwing everyone else under the bus who'd be negatively affected. I am mad. I say what the Fed has done to me since 2009 and including during your time at the Fed, and you continuing to do what is destroying this country, and with savers and diligent investors being the ones being most harmed, and I am in both these categories, in a major way, along with me owning no real estate, basically being poor from bad happenings but saved. I am certain, like no one you have ever known, having great knowledge of both the economy and of stock valuations, that I have been unjustly hurt like no one else. You really should be offering me compensation for the 11 years of stress, monetary losses, loss of health, all the years swiped from my life, and where I, in continuance of being financially responsible, had to stop driving and was unable to date for a decade. Why you have policies directed at hurting the most financially responsible amazes me. Even if it's not your intention, this is the result of the regressive policies of the Fed. You should be fully aware of those whom you are unjustly rolling over. For these persons whom are most negatively affected by the Fed's policies, there should be a fund made to make them whole. If the Fed would have made a big announcement that they intended to manipulate up the market until the end of time, then I'd have to make an appropriate decision. But while this did not occur and I endured the lies of what the Fed heads said would happen and didn't materialize in whole or in part, I cannot be held responsible for my losses. My losses were a result of the Federal Reserve and not my own.